And welcome back to another episode of Key Factors Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Jones, and we are powered by ReviewMyMortgage.com, the largest index of mortgage programs in the nation. And the past couple of episodes, we've been giving you plenty of information, plenty of data, plenty of market tips, plenty of nuggets to help you as a realtor, lender, prevail in this industry, especially in 2024 when we believe that things are going to start getting better, more business, rates dropping, things of that nature. But today I wanted to add a little bit of flair to the show. And it's almost a double dose of flair because we've got two incredible people that I would like to hear their story. And I'm sure you do too. So without further ado, I want to introduce my guests. Today, I've got Robert Elder. Robert, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. And my second guest is Austin Elder.
Yes, sir.
What up, Austin?
How's it going?
How are you?
Doing good. Fantastic.
Awesome. So I like to start the show with allowing you guys to kind of tell who you are, what you're about, how you got in the industry, all that jazz. Because there's some folks that may or may not know who you are, but this is the opportunity to tell them who you are so that when they're listening to the content that we're providing, they know why they should listen. Yeah. You know, who wants to start?
He can go first.
Me go first. Okay. Let the old man go first.
Hey, age before beauty.
Yeah. Age before beauty. He's more handsome than me. So, that's
debatable.
It's debatable.
Yeah.
So, I got into the business basically through osmosis. My mom, I grew up around the industry and saw her, negotiating deals, interacting with clients. I was the kid that would roll up the flyers because, of course, this was 30 something years, no, more than that. It was like 40 something years ago at that point. And I'd roll up the flyers and I would hang out the passenger window, and she would have me toss them over there. Luckily she loved me. If not, maybe she'd push my ass over the window. True. But I always tell people that I absolutely had an unfair advantage when I had my license. When I got licensed, I theoretically had 5 years of experience under my belt because I already saw how to interact with people, the language of sales, negotiations, things like that. So I was off to the races my first year. And, it's kind of history ever since.
Yeah. And you know what's even cooler is it's a concept that we had spoken about with a couple of other experts on previous episodes, which is the concept of working for free so that you actually understand what it is that you're doing. You buy into the concept of it, and you can actually say that you've kind of blood, sweat, and tears this without the financial gain at that point. I think that's the best way to learn.
1000%.
Yeah.
33 years later, here I am.
Amen. And thank goodness. And another thank goodness because Austin's here.
Yeah. kind of the same story. Grew up around it, right? Your whole life. You can't, you hear escrow in the background on the phone and you get in the business and things come together.
Yeah.
Obviously, I am on the lending side versus the realtor side. So there's a lot of things that he doesn't know that I know, vice versa. So it's always an interesting dynamic. But as far as the real estate itself, it was kind of a no-brainer. Seeing, I remember thinking back, okay, who's, I'm serving tables in school too. Right. And, on the path that I'm going, once I graduate, I'm going to make the same amount of money I'm making serving tables. So true. Who do I know right now that's making money? And it's this guy right here. So, and I guess we can go into the story, as we go. But yeah, it's been off to the races since.
So that leads me to my first kind of question is I grew up with a mother that was a realtor, and then she transitioned over to becoming a lender. She did that because my dad, being honest, didn't like her showing houses, lady out there at that time. So she was like, well, then I'll get in the office and I'll sling some loans. So I got to see it, got to hear the conversations like you're talking about. But what was that like growing up and being able to hear the conversations? Were you absorbing? Were you understanding it? Because I'll be honest, there wasn't a lot of the conversations going on in our family with my mom doing it. But then when I started doing it, it's like that's all we talked about. And the rest of my family members were like, well, you guys shut the fuck up about it.
I'm over this.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's my little brother right now.
I know
it is. Yeah. Poor Christian.
But yeah, do I understand it now? Yes. Back then, absolutely not. Yeah, you like I said, you hear the terminology going around, so you have this, subconscious mind understanding certain portions of it. Okay, like you close a deal, that's pretty self-explanatory.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right. But as far as the other things, it wasn't until I really got my feet wet in the business where it's like,
Whoa.
then it kind of made sense. And it gave me that head start, certain things I didn't need to learn the hard way.
Right.
Right. So, okay, then it like I said, everything at one point just clicks.
Yeah.
But growing up around it, you see it. It's kind of interesting, you know. For my brother, it's not, you know what I mean? But it's.
But again, for your brother, he doesn't understand it.
Exactly.
He doesn't have anything to tie it to. Like, for example, I would imagine there are many conversations that you overheard in your adolescence that, okay, they're talking right over your head.
Yeah.
But now you're in the business and a situation would come up that for some odd reason, our memory banks hold the weirdest things and you're able to kind of tie those two together and go, you know what? I'm not going to step on that landmine.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, Robert, what was it like for you having a son that at the time probably wasn't interested in what you were doing?
You know,
He's like,
Definitely not.
I need some new shoes.
it was never about what they wanted to do or what I wanted them to do, I should say. You know, I just wanted to be some type of good influence as best as I possibly could as a father, you know, so they could see that, you know, you have to work, you want the big house, you want the cars, you want the watches, whatever, you know, you have to work.
Absolutely.
That stuff just doesn't come free. And I know that there were a lot of times when they were much younger where I wasn't around.
Right.
I mean, I owned several companies when he was a baby.
Right.
My then wife gave birth to him 15 minutes after his birth. I was back at the office.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reality. You know,
I'm there.
You're there.
Absolutely.
You know, you're in the grind.
You're exactly correct.
And it's a double-edged sword. You can say, oh my God, so it's the best thing ever being self-employed. And it's also the worst thing ever.
Right.
But, you know, I had to, over the years, really figure out my dynamic, and it's taken me decades.
No, I believe it.
I know that I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I just hope that I was, you know, a good influence.
Right.
At the end of the day, more work ethic than anything else. And
I love that.
Christian has that work ethic, you know, too, as well.
And he's seeing it.
He does.
Yeah.
He's got a ridiculous work ethic.
So, Austin, this is a question more for me personally, because just like Robert mentioned, I'm in the thick of things. I've got businesses. A lot of my time is spent in creating, in working. I'll be honest. I put in the hours, and I am always in the back of my mind thinking, what are my kids going to think when they're older? There's two sides of the coin. If this all doesn't work out, well, then obviously they're going to think I'm a dumbass. But if it does, is that enough to make up for the time missed? And I ask you because, I mean, you're the closest reference I have to something similar to what I'm doing in my life.
No, that's a great question. I mean, absolutely. Like you said, if things don't pan out, okay, maybe that's not the best example. Right? We kind of gravitate towards the people that are succeeding.
Successful,
right?
yes.
And case in point right here.
Yep.
So you see that. You see the hours, the long nights, the tough conversations. And in that moment, you appreciate it, right? You know, it is what it is. Maybe you're missing out on a dinner, a game, whatever it may be. But I think when it comes to your own experience, my experience, when I have a long night, when I have shit that's just blowing up, you think back to, okay, I've seen this before.
Right.
I've seen the tension. Okay, how do they handle it? What do they just completely blow up? In some cases, maybe that is what it is.
Sometimes it's allowed, man. Yeah.
Sometimes you blow up.
What is needed.
But, you know, shortly thereafter, then what do you do?
Right.
What are the questions you're asking? How are you? I think at the end of the day, really what it is problem solving.
Yeah.
Right. And
most
when
definitely.
you see somebody who that has something come up like that, you see them immediately, you know, do something, and then right after that, problem solve. Let's figure it out.
Right.
And you start to see that, and you're like, why don't I do that?
No, you're right. And I guess what I'm more so asking is, there were times, just like you said, when certain things could not be attended. Same here. Daughter's got a gymnastics meet. I've got a client that I've been trying to get on the Zoom call for a while. Honey, I can't miss this one.
Yeah.
She understands. And I do spend plenty of time explaining to the kids why I'm doing it, so that they understand once we get to that point, it's rainbows and unicorns type concept, but we're still not there. Did that help shape you? Was there any kind of animosity towards it, or was it something like, you know what, it's not affecting me in a negative way because, let's face it, Robert still had time to spend with you guys.
Yeah.
It's just not the same as somebody working a 9 to 5.
Right.
They come home after 5:30
Yeah.
and they get to turn it off.
Yeah.
We don't get to
turn it
off.
Yeah. I mean, so it's interesting you say that, like the whole 9 to 5. Yeah, I mean, right the second I was born, he's off to working. So I've never been in that situation where, he's ever been like, okay, way back when Dad used to do this, now he doesn't. I've never had that reference point.
Gotcha.
So it's never been weird to me. My mom's always been around, so that's, if it had that not been the case, then maybe it's a different story.
Sure.
Right. But as far as my dad goes, you understand. Like you said, they tell you what it is, and then there are those times when they do show up.
Yeah.
It's not like they never show up. So when you see that, it's like, okay, he's doing his things. He's participating when I'm doing mine.
Correct.
There's really nothing else to complain about.
Man,
So,
it gives me a lot of hope.
yeah.
I mean it, because like you said, if you don't know any different, like, oh man, Dad, you used to be able to.
Yeah.
No, it's always been this way.
It's
just
funny.
like,
I've never thought of it that way.
Mhm.
I mean, because as a parent, in the back of your mind, you're like you.
absolutely.
You're worried.
Yep.
But he just said something that literally I never thought about. I've never been the 9 to 5.
Right.
I've been self-employed
Mhm.
since I was 20 years old.
Yeah.
So yeah, without that reference point, it's probably a mute subject.
And that
Now,
I mean,
granted, if I were never around,
right,
going
different
to
story.
anything,
Yeah.
that would be a different story.
different story. But I also believe, a far stretch, but I believe that if you were never around, this does not happen,
No.
Sure.
in my opinion. I
Agreed.
just, we are creatures of habit. We tend to gravitate towards what our upbringing brings. We are the circle that we hang out with, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Austin, without you saying it or knowing it, I'm sure you know it.
No.
There's totally a ton of Robert in you.
Oh,
You know?
that's not even a question. Yeah.
So, and I'm just hoping that my kids, same concept, at least
Yeah.
one of the two. You
Yeah.
never know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is something that I battle with in the sense that I give a lot of time to this,
Mhm.
and the people exterior, they have no clue, nor is it their priority to care. It's my
Right.
priority to
Right.
make sure that the family is in line, the kids understand why we're doing it, and hopefully they, like you,
Yeah.
pull some nuggets that they can apply later in life when they're adults,
Totally.
So, on to the next stuff. I mean, right out the gates, why'd you go lending versus real estate?
Well, yeah. I mean, I remember.
And before you answer,
Yeah.
my mother was in real estate, then flipped over to mortgage. Me, I was selling cars at Toyota Bernie,
Mhm.
became the finance manager there. I liked it.
Yeah.
Why? Because of the money. I
Yeah.
didn't like what I was doing.
Yeah.
I didn't like that I had to upsell and et cetera, to make good money. So I was seeking something else. I always wanted to be the realtor. I went and
Mhm.
took all my real estate classes.
Yeah.
Got to the end and went,
Yeah, it's not for me.
this isn't for me.
Yeah.
So I asked my mom, hey, what do you think about the lending side?
Yeah.
At the time, she had already done her time and was a processor for a high producing loan officer, and said, you know what, let's, I think that is the right move for you.
Yeah.
Took the classes, test, et cetera. Boom, the rest is history. But what helped you make that decision?
Yeah. I remember. Yeah. No, I remember sitting down at.
Because I saw Robert this whole
Yeah.
time, and
I'm curious what part of the story he's going to tell, because I got a story.
we were. I had dropped out of college without telling my parents.
without telling them.
Without
Yeah,
telling
we
them.
were clueless.
Okay.
And I remember.
Now, question before that.
Yeah.
Were they paying for it or were you?
Oh no, they were paying for it. at the
Oh
time.
my Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay, keep
It was.
going.
I wasn't
This is
too.
juicy.
I wasn't too far in.
This is
so
juicy.
I didn't feel too bad.
but the check cleared, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
For sure. And so I remember, dropping out, telling my parents. Actually, I didn't tell my parents.
No,
yet.
you
This is
didn't.
when I was going to tell my parents.
Okay.
And I sit down with my dad eating Tycoon Flats.
Okay.
Favorite place. I'll plug it. It's amazing. Best burgers in town. And we're sitting down, and I remember I shaved my face and everything. Like this is it. I'm ready.
getting serious.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting down with him, and I'm basically telling him, "Hey, I dropped out of school. I wanted to get into real estate. I want to join the team."
And
He's
then-
telling that story.
And then what did the five fingers say to the
And he
face?
says no. He says no.
Okay.
He says no. I'll help you do your own thing for sure.
Right.
If you want to go solo, join another team, but Yeah, you're
I'm
not.
like, you're not joining my team.
You're not joining my
And
team.
honestly, I don't blame you for that.
Yeah.
It took me, after being in the industry and opening my own branch and having my own P&Ls, it took me several years to work with my mother,
Yeah.
to be honest. Yeah, I ended up hiring her on, et cetera, but it's tough to work with family in business, to be honest. Yeah. Go ahead.
And then, like anybody in the mortgage industry, you kind of just get into it by accident. I feel like you meet people and you kind of drink the Kool-Aid. It was a shot in the dark.
Right.
It interested me, and I kind of got too deep into it where I was like, this is it. I actually do enjoy it. I'm pretty proficient at it. Let's see where we can take it.
Oh, you can toot your own horn. This kid was doing
let's get the real deal.
He was doing like, I don't know, the processing power of like 7 other people. He was doing it himself.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
It's a
fucking animal.
I mean, it's humble beginnings. I mean, I started off, should I get the full story or
No, give me that. Yeah.
Okay.
This is long form.
Yeah. So
I don't want sound bites.
Yeah.
I want the whole thing, and
whole
I'll
thing.
pull the sound bites.
100%. So I getting into this business, obviously I go and my first company I worked with was Aligned Mortgage.
Yep.
I get the opportunity to work with Aligned Mortgage on condition that I pass my loan officer test.
Makes sense.
Because I'm going to be a loan officer.
Sure.
Well, okay.
So you're around it. You get to see some of the osmosis, but it was going. You still didn't have an understanding of it.
Well, this is the thing. So it's during COVID. Everything's shut down. I'm stuck at home.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Big problem. I have no idea what the lingo is. I don't understand the flow of the transaction.
Right.
I don't know anything about
It's
it.
tough.
So I'm taking the 20-hour course, of course, whatever, right? That's its own thing. And now it's time to take the test.
Yeah.
I go and I take the test, fail by 1 point. I'm
Yep.
like, oh, man.
Brother, you're not the only one.
Yeah.
We've had many people.
Yeah.
It's a hard test.
It's a hard test.
It's a hard test.
Now, I will tell you, I made an 88 on the first time.
See,
Thank you, Adderall.
Yeah. No, and it's crazy. It's crazy. And I shit you not, I go and I take it 2 more times and I fail by 1 point
Daggum.
both times.
Frustrating.
It's a mental thing at that
JC,
point.
that remind you of anyone?
Yeah. It's tough. It's rough. And at that point I'm thinking, okay, is this really it? But I'm too close.
Yeah.
I'm too close to give up, and I'm calling them every time I'm bailing, saying, "Hey, I'm right here.
Yeah.
We're ready for you.
Yep.
Just do your thing." And I'm like, "Okay,
I
cool."
like that.
But that third time, you and I both know you got to wait a good amount of time after that.
A little while.
And I can't wait a good amount of time.
Right.
So I call them up. I'm like, I'll be receptionist. I'll scrub toilet, whatever you need me to do. I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe file setup. We'll get you an interview for file setup.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Because you get to see every single file that
Yep.
comes through there and learn the basics of the order outs,
Yep.
ordering HOA, all of those things.
Yep.
That's perfect. Keep going.
Yep. And so I go to that interview and I'm just getting grilled. If you failed it 3 times, what is this business for you? And here I am thinking, shit, is it? Is it for me?
Well, in your defense,
Mhm.
that test really has nothing to do with what we do.
Yeah.
To be
No,
honest.
It's exactly
100%.
like real estate.
100%.
Real estate test.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm still, shaking like a dog,
I'm sure.
red faced. Chris Cano walks in and starts live streaming the interview.
No.
It's like this. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
crazy. It's
he
funny.
did.
I'm like, is this normal? It's not
No,
normal.
there's
It's not
There's
normal.
nothing normal.
But it was an interesting time. I end up starting off in setup. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm pulling BCAD and ordering appraisals and doing all that stuff. And, I'm just kind of like, minding my own thing, do what I need to do. And keep in mind this is during COVID. So
Right.
Once it really starts to come in, they're like, oh, okay, he's doing his thing. Let's give him 20 more loans. So here I am doing all this stuff. And then 2 months later, okay, we're getting rid of setup. Either you're going to be a closer or processor. Well, from the people I was speaking to, processor makes more sense because you're going to be in the transaction.
It's actually the next step
Exactly.
in that chain.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So, okay, cool. You're a processor now.
Mhm.
And here's 3 loans. I'm like, okay, we'll figure it out. And there's really not too much training or anything, but it is what
Trial
it is.
by fire.
Exactly. Here's a contract. Here's some pay stubs. Okay, now what? Oh, just submit it to underwriting. Okay, cool. Here we go. We submit it. Okay, it came back. Now what? Okay, get conditions. Okay, here we go.
Well, Austin, that is probably and just by chance.
Yeah.
Because had you passed that test, that wouldn't have
No,
happened.
right.
it wouldn't
And
have
you
happened.
wouldn't have gotten to see as much as you did so quickly.
Yeah.
You would not have seen any of that until you got your first loan, to
Yeah.
be honest. And even when you get your first loan, You still don't know what you're doing. You send it to the setup. They do that for you.
Yeah.
Processing, they do that for you. You would still be on the path of not knowing what loans are and how to put them together.
No, 100%. And, it got to the point where, like I said, COVID, things are really coming through. Well, okay, we don't have that many processors. Let's just give this kid everything we got. And
they were inundating him.
here's, and it's not just, okay, let's get Nevada, Florida, you every single, so I'm having to learn on the fly, okay, this is a community proper state. This one's not. This is where you get the taxes for this. It's not like tech. You can't just go CAD and it's crazy. And so
other states are pretty weird. Huh?
They are very weird. So I'm having to figure that out and keep in mind. I mean, I'm working like 4 different time zones, Hawaii being one of them. So I'm pretty much around the clock, which is a pain. But it helped me learn. Okay, this is really what it takes to be in this business,
right?
And this is what you need when certain things come up.
Makes sense.
And it got to the point where it was like, okay. Now I'm getting phone calls from loan officers asking me questions if the loans that they're going to have will fly.
Right.
And I'm thinking, these guys don't know this? How do they not know this? And so...
Because them being able to have passed that test got thrown right into it and have been relying on people like yourself to help guide them. So that's why I talk about it quite often when you've got somebody that is a rock star on social media, but you ask them a lending question, they have no clue.
No idea.
And there's half and half. Some will say, I don't know, let me get you the answer. The other half, and it's probably more than half, will lie.
Yeah.
And that's the sad thing, but it is the true thing.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. And so that's how it was. I would dig through guidelines and just figure everything out. So when they came to me, like you said, I'd either have the answer or I knew exactly where to find it.
Yep.
So when that happened, I was like, okay, they kind of like me, slide me 100 under the table, we close the deal, whatever it may be. Right.
Bring those days back, please.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so, I was pretty happy about that. But then that 6 months came up, I had to pass my test and I was ready to hit the races. But here I had this big pipeline.
Sure.
Right. So we worked through it. We worked on transitioning over to LOA, then eventually LO. Right.
Okay.
I fast forward, I worked with multi-state again, kind of dealing in different states and stuff like that. That was an amazing experience. Just seeing, a lot of deals come through that I didn't necessarily, need to source just yet.
Sure.
But I was able to talk to the client, do all that amazing stuff with talking to the agent, title, all the stuff. So you're in it, but you don't have too much, I guess, investment as far as needing to get the lead, but you're still working it. Yeah. You can't close it. It's still on you.
It makes sense.
Right. So you get that experience, then I'm okay, well, I kind of want to do this for myself now. I know all the back end. If somebody throws me a line, I know exactly how to do it. Now I just want to go and do my own now.
Yeah.
Right. So fast forward.
Why?
Yeah, I just want to, why sit there?
I know the answer.
Why sit there when he's sending deals to other people?
It's time to make some money.
Yeah. Exactly. I want to get paid, at that point. I had already bought my first house with the salary that I had.
Heck yeah, man.
Okay, perfect.
Smart move.
I don't need to buy a house, so I can go be 1099 or whatever I need to be, commissioned. So at that point, I was like, fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. I know, like I said, I know all the back end. I know how to, get the loan done.
Sure.
I just need to start getting loans myself now.
Absolutely.
So I go on that journey. I end up going to Goal Financial, worked there for a little under a year. And that was kind of my first year, just self-generating.
Sure.
Doing what I need to do, right? Talking to agents, DMing me. And that's kind of where, how do I set myself apart? And that's where the content stuff came in.
Well, we're not there yet.
Yeah. So
skirt.
Yeah. So we'll stop there, but that's where the genesis of that.
So that being the case, now that you have transitioned into your own realm, your own master of your destiny, in my opinion, because we eat what we kill, right? And you wondering, okay, I've seen all of the loans coming through here. How the hell do I go get business? And I'm going to pause there to ask Robert, back when you had started in the real estate side of things, you reached, I guess, a point where it was like, okay, I'm on my own day one.
Yeah.
What was your plan on capturing business? Because they did not have social media back then,
No, it was so different back then. That's a phenomenal question, because I get often asked, what did you do when you started? I worked my ever-loving ass off.
Absolutely, yep.
I mean, so I started at Dominion Associated Realtors. So I was the backup agent to the backup agent. There were, I think, 7 other of the big agents, including my mom. She was one of the big agents. And then there was 2 backup agents, and I was the second one in command. So I was like the lowest person on the totem pole. So if one of the main agents couldn't take floor duty, kind of like car sales.
Sure. The ups.
The ups, exactly. Then boom, I would go in there. Well, I was 20 years old, no kids, no married, no girlfriends. Like, I just wanted to make money. I didn't even own a car.
Right.
I was dating someone at the time. I'd borrow her car to go to appointments and stuff like that. So I found myself working those leads like 50, 60 days straight. Then I'd take a day off or something like that. And boom. And then I would do another stint. Well, within that first year, I think I sold, I don't know, like $8 or $9 million, which back then,
that's a lot of coin.
That was a shit.
Absolutely.
It was huge.
Yeah.
But what I figured out was it took me 35 contacts to make a transaction. So I figured that out like innately. I didn't have some guru on YouTube, telling me, hey, these are conversion rates or whatever.
You didn't have coaching classes.
I didn't even know what a coach was. None of that stuff. My mom didn't even teach me this. I just figured out like, okay, I met X amount of people. I'm seeing a trend here.
Right.
I just need to meet more people.
Yeah.
So that was it. So I learned early on relational selling.
Yeah.
That was my thing. And it's been my thing from then until now.
It's the best.
I'm very much into relational selling. Yes, I do marketing and social media and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I want to get belly to people. So my goal was just meet as many people as I can every single day of the week, all the time. I'm always on.
Great concept.
So it's like when I walk out the door, I make sure that I'm presentable enough. I'm relatively clean shaven, whatever. My hair's done. I smell good. I don't look like I just woke up or anything. Why? Because I never know if I'm going to see and interact with my first client of that day. So, and I meet people, man, in just the craziest spaces.
Well, that's one thing that I've always respected about you in our time that we've been friends, you and Stephanie, and I've known this about both of you, is you guys put in the work.
Yeah.
There is no, people see it on social media and they think that for some odd reason that it just gravitates toward you. BS. You guys make the calls, you meet with the people, you shake the hands, you kiss the babies, and I haven't known any different from you.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's literally being that politician. You're the mayor of your city.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess the concept of you understanding right away without somebody telling you, okay, go buy marbles, and every time you make a call and then there's a no, put the marble in this one. Now you know how many no's you get before the yes. That is powerful in itself because you're self-motivated. I mean, for some odd reason, maybe you saw your mom doing it.
I don't know why. I've had this mindset for years, and I don't know where it came about. But every day I wake up unemployed. That's it. I wake up, the alarm doesn't go off because I beat the alarm. Like today I was up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm unemployed.
Yeah.
I need to make a paycheck today.
That's right.
What can I do to make a paycheck? And so right now I'm negotiating a near $2 million property. That'll be my paycheck for the day.
That's
right. But guess what? Tomorrow I'm unemployed again.
Reset. Yeah. That's right.
It's a pretty simple concept.
It really is. And why make it any more difficult than that? I don't know. But you are correct. I mean, I've been speaking a lot about going back to the basics, and I mean it. I mean,
right now people need to go. You need to go back to basics right now. And this gravy train's over.
And unfortunately, for many in the industry that got in the last, let's call it 3 years, they don't know what the basics are. Because it was just shooting fish in a barrel. Now that barrel is a pond, and they're down at the very bottom. Maybe they're procreating, who knows? But they're just not at the top and easy to find. Right. But they are there, So knowing that about Robert, did you guys know, or did you ever ask, like, okay, how do I start with the getting of the business? Or did you go straight to social media? What was that?
Well, I mean, you see the relational selling. I mean, everybody I would meet, oh yeah, I know Robert too.
People that say they know me, but I really don't know them.
But they know of me. Yeah, that's one thing I quickly learned is like, okay, then the follow-up questions, okay, how do you know him?
Correct.
Right. And that's where you kind of figure out, okay, no, this person's, somebody knows him well, or he's got no clue.
Correct.
He's got no clue.
They know of.
Yeah. But in that, you start to realize, okay, like he said, after a certain amount of people, that's when you start getting, okay, if I work with a certain amount of agents, this is a certain amount of deals I can expect.
Correct.
When I follow up a certain amount of times, whether that's, several times a week, when I do this, when I do that, like you said, you start to figure it out. And it's that figuring it out type of thing. When once something sticks, we might have something here.
Correct.
When I make a video like this, it works. When I send a text like this, it works. When I send a video text like this, it works. So you start to realize, okay, this is what I'm going to do.
And you're taking note of these things, which
Absolutely.
I love. And there's many people that go through this and still don't comprehend that there are different ways to do the same exact thing. And those different ways dictate whether or not you're going to get it or not.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It's like A/B testing.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yes. So as you moved into the sector on your own, jumping on social media, just like I did 13 years ago. I'll be honest, I was one of the first, and I can say that proudly, one of the first to post the closing pictures. We didn't have the key back then, but it was something that when I did it the first time, I didn't get very many likes or views.
Yeah.
Then the second time, not very many.
It's not a thing yet.
Yeah, fast forward, and now all of a sudden I'm tagging the people that I actually closed,
Yeah.
and it's not my people that are liking, it's their people that are liking. Fast forward. Now I don't even have to post that picture. I'm the one being tagged in those pictures. That's getting shared and commented. So now I'm looking in the feed, people that are interested, boom. Okay, heck yeah. Now I've got business coming that I didn't even adopt, you know? And then I went, okay, how do I turn this even more so without social media? Well, guys, invite me to your housewarming party. I'll bring the keg and I'll meet the people that are there.
Yeah,
that happened for a little while and it worked. But you'll find that there are many different ways in a day that you can acquire at least a conversation that opens up the doors to other conversations.
Absolutely.
You know? Now, when you were at Gold, when you were at Aligned, and now at Rapid, was there any mentorship within there? Because I know Robert can only tell you from the real estate aspect and what he knows of the mortgage side. I'm sure he knows a ton about mortgage, but still not a lender, right?
Yeah.
Not the nitty gritty of guidelines.
No,
not at all.
It reminds me of Marcus Laffey, Andy Hilgard. These guys, they know what I do, but they can't tell you the guidelines.
Yeah.
So they always make sure that they check back before they give that information.
For sure. I mean, really, as far as mentorship, I mean, I had learned, at least in my processing stints, where to get the information that I needed, right? I think really as far as the mentorship, when I got to, okay, self-producing, is what are the actions? What are the conversations? How do they look like when certain things come up? How do you handle it from the front lines? Because you don't see that really when you're, doing the loans in the back. You don't see how the conversation is delivered to the client when, okay, maybe we need to do this. Maybe we need to do that. You don't understand how to gracefully put those conversations if you need to, right? So that's where I would lean on some of the senior LOs over there. And not only there, but other companies as well. I putting the content out, you have other people reach out to you, you create connections and whatnot. And doing that, you get unbiased, perspectives where, okay, well, let me bounce this idea off you. What do you think? So it's cool to see that. Nick Ochoa, who was multi-state out of Aligned, super, mentor for me, being able to see, okay, this is how I do things.
Good guy. He's been in the industry as long as me.
Solid.
He's amazing. And so, people like that, leaning on them, asking them questions when certain things come up. That's kind of been how it is. Like I said, it wasn't really for guidelines. It wasn't really like, okay, is this going to work? No, it's really just like, okay, this happened. What would you do? Right. Okay. Well, how does that conversation look? Should I call the listing agent first? Get to who might, because it can, like, the communication aspect is the biggest piece.
Correct.
When you're on the front line. So it's like, okay, how do I do it the best way? How are the top producers that obviously, one, come across these challenges, and two, obviously resolve them? How are they doing it?
Right.
And so once I see how they're doing it, that's how I'll do it.
Well, go ahead.
I was going to say that's super cool that, and of course I don't know y'all's industry, but that's awesome that there's the collaboration that goes on within the industry, just like for the most part within our side of it. So for example, that large house that I'm negotiating right now actually came from an agent here in town who follows me on social media and says, hey, I'm really not comfortable doing this. I don't have the marketing budget. You're the one with the experience. I'm getting them something on the back end, and I trust you to get this sold on the front end. And that's an honor. I mean, I'm humbled that someone would do that. And it actually happens quite often.
Absolutely.
When I get people reach out to me, and I'm more than happy to help them. But many other times in situations like that, I'll have agents that they're at different brokerages and they're like, hey man, I got this challenge. What's your opinion?
Right.
And even though I'm in the thick of a lot all the time, I'm honored that they reach out to me.
Right.
And I'm happy to help as best as I can, because it's like paying it forward, man. I mean, there's
100%.
plenty for everyone here.
And I think that, so I had 2 points from what you were mentioning. That was actually one of them. So I'll come back to that. But you mentioned you don't go to the folks out there for guideline questions.
Yeah.
And I love that, because you'll see in certain groups, people will, hey, I've got this scenario with this loan, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and they're just going to underwrite it for you. Yeah, and I mean, maybe if it's gray area.
So let me get this straight. When you get the answer that you're looking for, you're going to snip that and put it in the freaking file or what? No, you got to go find it in the guidelines.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you understand that concept, because that's one thing that I told my loan officers is, do not ask underwriting questions in a social media setting.
Right.
Why? Because 1, you look like an idiot.
Yeah.
Okay. 2, we're here for that. And 3, even if you found the right answer, you can't use a snippet of the guy of what they said as your guideline backup for the underwriter.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, coming back to the collaboration piece, I think that is something that has evolved in our industry, because I will tell you, when I first got into this industry, it was not like that at all. The concept of somebody reaching out to Robert to get his opinion, to get his help on a situation, unheard of. The conversations that, for example, I speak to many lenders across the country for collaboration, different companies, different facets.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is happening more and more. Why? I don't know. Maybe more people are understanding that, hey, there is plenty of business that goes around, and social media is a weird place to where my crew is not the same as your crew.
Yeah.
So if I post this content, I could literally post the same content, or he could post the same content, and different people are going to see it.
Yeah.
For sure.
And it doesn't take anything out of my pocket.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Right.
What was that saying that I would go by, which is, you lose nothing at all by someone else winning. Somebody else winning literally takes nothing from you.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that goes a long way, but for some odd reason, it's happening more and more. And it feels pretty cool because the concept of this show is to be able to have that melting pot of unbiased, unfiltered, free flow of expert information.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask you, Austin, how to finance a vehicle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm going to talk to you about what you do best. So going into this next segment of this discussion, what's up with the content, bro? That's awesome.
Yeah,
You're doing
appreciate it.
fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I don't always have the time to put, and I'll be honest, all those reels that you see, that's all AI.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get out.
I'm
That's
not
pretty
even
cool.
joking. I've got it all streamlined. This episode, once we're done with it, we put the audio together. I throw that in AI. It cleans it up. Then I throw it over here, and then AI clips it. I've streamlined. Yeah. I need my time.
Yeah.
When we first started this, it was like 3 hours each episode after the fact, post production. But with yours, it's very relevant. It's catchy. You've found a niche for what is eye appealing to them, like putting the cash there.
Yeah.
That gets people.
Yeah.
I don't care what you're saying. They're going to go, whoa, wait a minute. What was that?
Yeah.
Good job. Right.
Yeah.
Now, before I ask that, because that could be a longer conversation, Robert, are you taking any nuggets from your son
Oh,
here?
hell yeah. I mean, he's crushing it.
Yeah.
He is absolutely crushing the social media thing. So when I got back into the game years ago, it was Facebook. That was
absolutely.
it. And so,
What do you mean? To me, there's only still Facebook.
I know, exactly. We're old.
Facebook's huge.
And so when I got back in the industry, I reached out to my dear friend Craig Owen, and I said, what has changed? And he told me, oh, this thing, social media, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay. So I dove into it. And at that time, dude, I mean, I was crushing Facebook.
Yeah.
All organic, $5 to $8 million a year in business. Now
Absolutely.
it's nowhere near. Now you've got, Instagram, and you've got TikTok and all these other things that have really evolved. And when I saw him take off with his social media, I was like, okay, cool. Let's see what he does with it.
Yeah.
He's been committed to it.
Absolutely.
Like an animal. I mean, I have business people my age, I'm 53, that call me up and said, "Oh my God, I learned something from your son today. I'm following him now all the time. He's got great content. He's got a good message. He makes it easy to learn." And so I started watching what he does and how he does it. He does have a gift to teach.
Yes.
In an entertaining way that keeps your attention, and it's short and concise. It's a gift because it's hard. Not a lot of people can convey a message
Correct.
in a very short period of time because we have attention spans of gnats.
Yep.
Yeah.
8 seconds or less. And it's funny that you mentioned Craig Owens, because if they had social media back in the day, Craig and I played in a what was it, redneck golf tournament.
Oh, you must have had hair back then, right?
Dude, we were wearing wigs and dresses. Yeah.
Nice.
It was me, Kendra Ray, and yeah, that would have been our viral post. Me and him walking off the golf course with our, anywho. So with your content, the way that you portray it, I believe that consistency, number one, is the most impactful thing. And you're not doing it in a way that is corny, because corny typically works faster. If you post a funny video or something, I mean, most of my videos, because I don't have the time to be able to put into it, were taking a clip from somebody else that was funny and then adding myself to the end of it, which worked.
It definitely
super
works.
simple.
I remember when you were doing
right?
this, yeah.
It worked real fast. And it was like, okay, now I know I can come back to that when the time comes that I can put time into it. Yeah. And then once AI came into the play, because taking an hour episode and finding content, clipping it, putting it was just too much. I was able to get like 2 out in the time that I have. The educational piece is what is super difficult in our industry. And I say that because mortgage is not sexy by any means. Real estate is the sexy side.
For sure.
You know what I mean? What is it that, I don't know, inspires you to continue down that road versus going the easy route of the corny stuff? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, like anything, you look at the people who are crushing it in this business, and then you look at the people who have been doing it.
Yep.
You separate that, been doing it, and the people who are now turning that curve.
Correct.
And, these newer LOs, these COVID LOs, whatever it may be, what are they doing? The ones that are really hitting it. And, you start to see, okay, there's this guy on Instagram. Okay, he's pretty cool. Okay, this is what he's making. This is how he's saying it, whatever it may be. Okay, can I emulate that? Can I make it better?
Yep.
Right? Is this actually getting them business? And then you look at their page and you see, damn, okay, he's getting
some folks.
Exactly. So it's like, okay, I might want to do that. So you see that and you're like, okay, well, then you get into the action mode. Okay, how do I do it?
Sure.
Okay, get a camera, get a tripod, say something. If anything, just pick it up and make the video right then, right there. That's how it started for me, and it kind of slowly evolved into, okay, I see this one video, I really like the way that it is, because I mean, I always look at it from, okay, this is getting my attention. Why is it getting my attention?
Right.
Even if it's not mortgage, even if it's, Alex Hormozy or, Discovery Channel posting, whatever it may be. Okay, what is it that got my attention? What do I like about it? What do I pull from it? What do I remember about it? How did they shoot it? And then can I do that for mine?
Right.
So when you see that, you start thinking, okay, I've made a couple like this. Let me try to make it like that. And then eventually you get to the point where it's indistinguishable from those other people as far as the format, but it has your message instead of theirs.
I love it.
And your own personality instead of theirs. And that's really what I think gets people invested in you, because at that point you're building a brand.
And I think that that's very powerful to say and to be honest about, because I think folks out there that are not doing this, and what's holding them back from doing it is the concept of, oh, but I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. I don't know what content. And for me, for you, same thing. We go and see what others are doing, and let's not try and recreate this wheel. Let's just make this wheel better and more personalized to what we do.
Absolutely.
Obviously you have to be willing to hit record to be able to put those wheels into motion and get the criticism, positive or negative. But then after that, keep going. That's a tough task or ask for that. So with you, Robert, because I've seen more reels coming out and I'm seeing you guys are able to do the sexy and there's obviously more views when it comes to sexy, but is that converting to business for you guys? And are you grateful in seeing Austin jump out to the races to do that, which helps motivate you to continue to do more?
He entirely motivates us for sure. I mean, not because he's my kid or anything like that. Like he's putting in the reps and he's seeing the fruits of the results of those reps. So it is motivating because then it's like, well, shit, why am I not doing this?
Right.
You know, I can find the time. What I think I struggle with is like, I think I've got so much in here that I don't think anyone really wants to hear it. But at the end of the day, truthfully, they do want to hear it. I mean, I have 33 years, thousands of transactions in my head.
Correct.
To me, it's not that big of a deal. But to that newer agent or the consumer, it is a big deal. So I have to kind of retrain my brain to be like, okay, you know what? I do need to describe this situation. I need to walk people through it.
Right.
The funny thing is, as much as people might think I'm an extrovert, I'm actually an introvert. I really am.
You know, what's funny is I've come across, this will be episode 72 or 73, something like that. But I would say for the most part, the folks that I have on the show, to the public, they believe we're extroverts.
For sure.
Because we're able to put the show on. We're able to not be afraid to put the content, the transparency out there.
Right.
But I would much rather be doing my thing.
Oh, yeah.
Leave me alone.
Dude, so we went to have a training session with Ryan Serhant.
Okay.
Spent $20,000 to be up there for a weekend.
Yeah.
And I had the honor of sitting next to him at dinner. So it was Ryan next to me, Stephanie in front of me, and Ryan's wife. And she was sweet, totally getting along with really, really great energy. And I learned Ryan 1000% is an actor. He was awkward when he was not on.
Right.
It was so weird because he talks about that in his book,
yes.
you know, and the moment, you know, I would try to interact with him and he was almost kind of the Ricky Bobby, like, I don't know what to do with my hands kind of thing. It's super nice guy, by the way. I mean, it's like, I really enjoyed the time with him, but the moment he was on, it was like a switch.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, that taught me, it's like, I have to be on.
Yeah.
And so I'm on all day long, but then when I get home, I like to be home. I like to be chill.
Yeah. I mean, I relate to that so much. And I'm sure there's others that same thing. It's like when we have to be on, it extracts so much
out of you.
Yes. I mean, and we're not talking about I'm tired physically.
No.
I'm mentally exhausted.
Yeah.
Right.
Because we're doing so much in our head.
Absolutely. I'm mirroring this customer. I'm now listening to this customer. Now I'm giving advice. Now I'm doing the song and dance.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just all day.
And so this is what Stephanie and I talked about the other day. It's different when you're an agent or an LO, for example, that maybe only does, you know, the average agent in San Antonio only sells between 3 and 5 houses a year.
Yes.
If I were selling between 3 and 5 houses a year, guess what? I could be on all the time. It wouldn't be a big deal. I wouldn't be tired. I wouldn't be mentally stressed, but we're not. You know, during COVID, we were selling 3 houses a week.
Right.
We're exhausted.
Absolutely.
You guys are processing
continuously.
It's just like in the paint.
Yeah.
It's like you are working your asses off. It's very different. So I need my me time. Yeah. You know, my downtime.
Absolutely. Sure. Have you gotten to that spot yet, Austin?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Already.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I can relate. Totally get it. Totally get it.
We were in New York in December and there were a couple times where it's like, I respect him now because he's like, hey, you know what? I need to break away for about an hour. I've got some stuff to do. And I'm like, that says a lot about someone his age.
Yes.
You know, to have that level of responsibility, because I remember when I was his age, I was still partying. Right. You know, just admit it.
Austin, how old are you, man?
23.
23? Yeah, no, I wasn't partying still at that age, but I did all my partying early, which allowed me to respect and cherish the fact that I was in the position to make these kind of decisions.
For sure.
Like, okay, my friends are doing that, but I know if I do this, I will be ahead. And I had to continue to tell myself that. Yeah. And lo and behold, worked out, you know. Yeah. Now it's like, okay, when friends go out, who's the one paying? Who's the, you know? But yeah, that's I guess important for people to understand and know that we are human. At the end of the day, if you're working or sending a customer to you guys, they're going to get the 100%. Once the relationship, let's say realtor to lender, after a little while, you can kind of bring your guard down and be honest with them and say, hey, I'm spent. I will get to that because this is not at the top of the docket that needs to be done right now. But in the beginning, when you're building those relationships with realtors, you need them to think that you're the only agent I work with, you know? So that's tough, but it's cool that you were able to kind of grasp and adopt that concept. Many people still are trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
They really are. How are we doing on time? Let me check this. Okay, we're good. So now that we've talked about the come up, the journey, how you got into it, what content, what creation looks like. We know that you can teach an old dog new tricks, and we can potty train the young ones, right?
This is true.
I want to talk a little bit at the end here about the market, what you guys are seeing. Each little bit of episode, because these are weekly, I want to bring in some of the expertise and what you guys are seeing, because everybody sees something different, and it's not wrong or right. It's just our experience.
Right.
Robert, you being in more so the luxury aspect of things. Matter of fact, we just recorded one yesterday, and Marcus Laffey mentioned that higher dollar properties are still selling.
Yeah.
And there's still multiple offer if they're priced right. And he asked me why I think that is. Well, I know why. The people that buy those houses have their shit together.
Exactly.
That's why. They understand what real estate does. If they are financing the home, they understand that that's just the rate for now. They put a little bit more money down. They get the concept of killing the P principle. You don't have to really go in depth on breaking down the figures and getting them to wrap their head around how finance works.
Correct.
So what are you, that being the case, what are you seeing out there?
We're seeing, so admittedly, so we're a bit different. You know, we carry anywhere from 30 to 40 listings at a time. So between two people, that's a lot of inventory, but it gives us a really good gauge and pulse on what the market is.
Sure.
So admittedly, when rates were at 8+%, dude, it was dead.
Yeah.
It was very, very quiet.
Everybody was scared.
Everybody was quiet. I wasn't scared. Don't get me wrong.
No, buyers, sellers.
Oh, yes.
were
Yeah.
100% fearful.
No, me, all I was doing was stacking more inventory because I know that the market's going to turn.
Always does.
And I want my store shelves full of inventory to be able to sell. And like agents would see us at the office and Stephanie's, grinding on the phone, me doing this, and they're like, what the hell are you guys doing? We're like, we're stacking this stuff because it's going to turn.
Absolutely.
And so when we were in New York, for Christmas vacation, that's when rates started going down.
Yeah.
Dude, all of a sudden I started seeing like bing, bing, showing request. And on Christmas Day, we had like 3 showings. On Christmas Day,
I believe
we had 3 showings. And I was just like, okay, it's turning. Rates are coming down. I think people are starting to really understand, okay, this is just the reality of what it is. This past weekend, we had 29 showings in 2 days.
Wow.
On our, roughly 35 to 40 listings, right around there. 2 offers came in. We're about to negotiate the 3rd, which is what we're doing right now.
Sure.
So movement is happening. This is me, my opinion. And I work off of data, but I work off of my gut just because I've been doing this so damn long. I feel very, very bullish about 24, but buyers better be damn careful and not miss that window of opportunity because there's going to be that window where it's really going to switch.
Correct.
And they're going to be screwed again.
I have to believe wholeheartedly in what you just said. I am bullish as well. Just simply, and I am using the data in this, just simple, pure logic, supply and demand.
That's the simplest thing. It's like, if people don't get that, it's like, then you just don't understand.
Then you don't understand. Right. If you're limited on supply, which we are, check. And you've got hundreds of thousands of people that are sitting on the fence. I mean, between you and I, we've probably pre-qualified hundreds of people in the last year, right? Where are the closings? They're still waiting, right? And as soon as they feel comfortable in their mind that rates have dropped enough or what have you, they're going to come to the realization that, oh shit, the prices are going back up again. And I don't have the money to pay over and above list price.
Yeah. It's already happening on the East Coast and West Coast. So I of course, talk to agents all over the place because just like you have relationships, I do too. West Coast, all of my buddies, we're in multiple offers again.
Wow.
Yeah. There's it was not Real Trends. There's a economic thing that we follow, and it's just missing my brain right now. But there was a chart of the United States, and it did show that in the central area, Texas included, kind of going up to North, Oklahoma and whatnot, we are seeing more inventory.
Right.
On the East and West Coast, it was nothing. It was like sub
Still
30
rare.
days.
Mhm.
And over here, we're sitting on about 4-ish months, anywhere from 3 to 4 months,
Correct.
which in the grand scheme of things is still not a true healthy market.
Not at all.
It can turn very, very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel once we get to that rate, whatever that magical rate is,
Correct.
it's off.
And it's, I don't know, it just boggles me. And I want to get your take on this. Even though you haven't been in it as long, you still are able to kind of connect the dots in regards to why is it there's a special rate when it gets to 5.5, because even at 5.5, that same customer could qualify at 6.5.
Yeah.
But in their mind, I believe it has a lot to do with social media, the
100%.
media itself, and being able to brag to your friends.
Yeah.
To be honest, because I remember when everything shot through the roof, rates were at 3%. It was like, we don't even have to post. I've got buyers that are like, yeah, I got a 3% rate.
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean to you?
Yeah.
You know? But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the same thing. You know, I'm having conversations with clients that I talked to months and months ago, last year.
Oh yeah.
Right. And it's funny. They're starting to see that. And when you look at it, it's actually kind of, the rates haven't moved that much from where they were a year ago.
Not.
It's that little spike in the middle.
Right.
It scared them.
Yeah. And they see that and they're like, okay, well, it's come down this much since then. Are we going to see another market like we saw in COVID? Because I mean, I had a client this morning submit an offer, didn't win that offer.
Right.
The other person buying it went
higher.
Yeah.
Better.
Just higher. Better offer. Right.
Right.
And so it's like, okay, now that client's going to come back, regroup.
Right.
Okay, we need to be a little bit more serious. The market's not going to let us, like it did 2 months ago, do $50K under, ask for full closing costs. You might get that on a new build, but you're not going to get that on pre-owned, right?
Now, why do you get that on a new build?
Oh, I mean, it's all built in.
There you go.
It's all built in.
So you're a wise cat.
It's that's another conversation in and of itself.
That's another hour conversation.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the same time, it's definitely picking up from where it was 2 months ago. And like I said, those conversations with clients that were in the past, like you said, they see those headlines. They even if they're not in the market, they see, oh, they're at 7 now. I feel a little better because I didn't buy a house.
Right.
Oh, they're at 8. Oh, I feel good.
Yeah.
And then they come back inversing.
Sure.
And they're like, okay, I think I need to jump in now.
Yep.
I think this is time, right? And they all know you can refinance. It's not something you need to explain to them. What they need to know is, okay, am I getting a good deal, based on what the market is? Am I getting a good deal to jump in now and be in it long term?
Correct.
That's the biggest thing. You don't want to jump in at 8 or whatever it may be, even though you can refinance.
Correct.
Like you said, you want to brag to your friends and say,
I think that's
rates were at 8, but I got a 6.5.
Yep.
That's all it is.
For some odd reason, I think that has a lot to do
100%.
with it. And they're skipping over the baseline of you're building equity. Fool.
Yeah.
Right. I think there's just been that challenge of also the sellers who missed the boat.
Yep.
And their friends, not necessarily bagging about their rates, but bragging that they sold it for $50,000 over and didn't have to do any repairs and all that other stuff. So it's like two things, and where that intersection is, that's where we're trying to find those smart people now.
Absolutely.
Because the people that are buying right now, I'm just going to say they are the smart ones.
Right.
They're the ones that are not going to be regretting it.
Correct.
4 or 5 months from now when shit really gets crazy.
It's
going to get crazy.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you, Austin, and then this is going to parlay to Robert, but in those cases, like you explain, customer submits their offer, they get smoked by somebody else. Are you having the conversation with your realtor, or are you bypassing the realtor if you know they're not having the following conversation directly with the buyer? That you guys need to be serious.
Oh, 100%.
This is not a market to where it is not a buyer's market. And despite what people think, just because you can now get a little closing cost does not mean you can pencil whip them and get $30,000 off the price. And you're submitting these offers. I'm giving you the approval letters. At the end of the day, do you really want to be in a home or not? I mean, are you the one having that conversation, or are you coaching, or are you doing both?
I mean, I think it comes from both sides, right? You obviously regroup with both the buyer's agent and that client and obviously this didn't work. This is what we're going to need to do. Right. And maybe it's the house. Maybe it's listed. In this case, the house was listed for a day.
Sure.
And the client wanted to really get in.
Yeah.
And, okay, we're not going to do that. We'll be a little bit more aggressive.
Sure.
We'll see what happens. Obviously, that didn't pan out. Maybe we need to target houses if that's what you really want.
Yeah.
If that's your deal breaker, maybe we need to look at houses that have been on the market for a little bit longer.
Correct.
Right.
Maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe that needs to be negotiated in. Right. You have those conversations with the client. They're well aware. Or at least they should be. And so when an opportunity comes up, everybody moves in unison, and it's not some weird miscommunication. Oh, but you said this, I said this. This is no.
It's a team. Everyone's on the same page.
It's a team. We all know what the client's goal is, right? And this is what we need to do. If we can't get that done, then we need to get with the client again and readjust. Okay, this is the monthly payment we want. This is the cash to close we want. If we're not ticking these boxes, the client's going to get mad. If they're going to get mad, they're not going to want to buy a house.
Correct.
You know how that goes, right?
Yeah.
So setting that expectation and doing that, that's important.
And the reason why I ask that is you will find, and I'm sure you have, where agents are scared to have that conversation with them at the fear of losing that buyer.
Yeah.
Like, you're not working for me.
Yeah.
No, I'm being real with
Exactly.
you. If you're trying to actually buy a home, this is the mentality, this is the mindset, this is the expectations that you need to have.
Yeah.
And if they're not able to have that conversation, are you confident enough to be able to go, hey, buyer, let's just have a conversation. And now I'll relay that to your realtor, et cetera, et cetera. Because on the flip side, you've got sellers, and I know you work with a ton of sellers for years now, that I call it the conversation.
Yeah.
In your instance, I know there is no hesitation, no matter the dollar amount of the property, to find out if your client is really serious about moving this
100%.
property.
I want to know at the get-go.
Yep.
I mean, are we doing a deal or not? Because you're hiring me.
Correct.
For my experience and for me to be honest with you.
Yes.
I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. There's no gray. It's black or white. And it's either you're going to listen to my experience and my best judgment on your behalf because you are my fiduciary. And if you're not, then maybe you just know more than I do. And I've literally had conversations like, and I'm not coming across cocky because I am the person that will fall on the grenade for my clients.
That's right.
My clients who really know me and trust me, they trust me implicitly. Bill, for example, I've made him a ton of money. He will never question anything, but he knows that I have his best interest.
Absolutely.
Then you have that client that's like, well, but I mean, I've sold 2 houses in my life. And I'm like, okay, well, I sold, 2 hours ago.
Correct.
What are you trying to do? Do you know more than me?
Right.
It is a challenge because some people just don't want to hear. And sometimes maybe I'm just not the agent for them.
And I think that
and I'm
is
cool
a
with
great,
that. I'm totally cool with
that's
that.
a great point that you bring up in the sense that maybe I'm not the agent for them because your time is valuable.
100%.
And I believe you earn the right to have valued time.
Absolutely.
You're an expert in what you do, and it is, in many cases, a waste of that time when you are working with someone that has their own expectations that don't align with their goals.
Yeah.
And I believe for any agents that are out there listening to this, you've got to at least be confident enough to believe in what you're selling, and that service that you're selling, that product that you're selling, it's yourself. So at the end of the day, if you don't believe in yourself enough to stand behind what you're preaching, hey man, maybe they're all not the right,
for sure.
Yeah. So, it's just something that I think a lot of agents are struggling with at the moment. The fear of, especially on the listing side, they're going to list it because the seller believes their home is worth this much because X amount happened. Well, we're not in that market right now.
Correct.
Are you able to have that actual conversation with them to bring them to reality? And what I mean in reality is comparables within X amount of radius.
Because we actually have data now.
Yeah.
We actually have data. In full disclosure, when COVID started happening, I had to retrain my 30 plus years of thinking because nothing made sense. We did not have data.
Right.
And there were a couple of listings that I did not get.
Right.
Because someone else bought into the
Right.
clients, when at that point I didn't see it yet, but I learned very quickly. It's like something's changing. There's a change in the tide.
Yep.
And I told Stephanie. And so we had to we were winging it, man.
That's right.
I mean, it was like the wild, wild west until we got the flow.
Yeah.
And then we're like, okay, cool. All right. We can run with this. And then now there's data.
Absolutely.
And, Stephanie's like a huge data nerd. And I'm a second degree data nerd. Let's
By
just say.
osmosis.
Yeah, by osmosis. But it is, good that we can go back. I mean, like last night we were at a listing appointment. They thought it was worth 1.5. We're like, it's 1.3. Here's the data.
Yes.
This is what's going on. And once they looked at, okay, 1.3. Got
That
the
makes
listing.
sense. Yeah. And you can back it up with that.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. So there's been some good stuff talked about in a short period of time here.
Mm-hmm.
Quickly, what do you think 2024 is going to look like, Austin?
I think it'll take off. I think it'll be good.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it'll maybe not be a repeat of COVID, but I think we'll see a little bit of some similarities. I haven't seen that. And no builders paying 1% or whatever it may be. I don't know if it'll get to that, but you'll see signs.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that logic. The comment about COVID, we won't see another COVID unless another COVID happens.
Unless another COVID happens.
And with the election coming, you never know.
Yeah.
So never say never or always.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
Robert, what do you think, man?
I think it's going to be a great year. I'm super bullish about it. I feel it won't be unless we see another COVID.
Yep.
Don't think it's going to be to that level, but I think it's going to be a hell of a lot better than 23.
Mm-hmm.
I think people really need to buckle down though on their skill set. Agents, lenders, everyone in the industry. You really need to know what the hell you're doing right now.
Yeah.
This is game time for the pros.
Absolutely.
The pros are playing. The pros are winning.
Yes.
Those agents that are not investing in their skill set, learning scripts, putting money into their career and their gift and what they do. Dude, we're gonna eat them up. I don't care.
Right.
Like I'm here to win. I'm here to win for my clients.
Yep.
And so we're investing in ourselves. And this year, it's gonna pay off.
And I actually believe that the last year was the time for you to sharpen your craft,
100%.
work on your presentation, work on your skill set, educate yourself, and engulf yourself
Totally.
in your process to fine tune it. But that time has passed. It's go time.
Oh yeah. That time passed 4 months ago.
That's right.
5 months
That's
ago.
exactly right.
Now we're in the game.
I have to agree with that. And we're going to see plenty of agents not being able to make it.
Oh yeah.
Plenty of lenders. We're already seeing it. You're seeing the data on renewals, license renewals have dropped tremendously. I'm like, finally.
Yes.
Finally.
There needs to be a cleansing.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, because
Needs to be a
in my
cleansing.
opinion, the onesie twosies, you're doing your customer a disservice.
1,000%.
Yeah.
Preach.
So is there anything else that you guys want to add to this before we close it out?
This was fun.
Yeah, that's great.
Not bad. I think a lot of folks learned a lot about you guys that they may have assumed. Maybe they thought it was just handed to you. I absolutely love, Austin, the fact that you went through all that shit because
I haven't handed him anything.
I wish
for the record.
I wish he had the buyers that I thought he had. The buyers that I didn't really think that forward. He doesn't have 10 buyers a month.
Oh no.
Maybe one a quarter if that. I don't know.
Now, what I would recommend is getting those houses and ask them to do open houses every weekend because that's where the buyers are.
Yeah. This is true.
Hey, you know what? I got it.
Yeah.
And because you said it on this show, that I'm responsible enough to take care of that.
Oh, yeah.
I've handed him nothing.
I believe that. And I think that's the way that it should be because then you can eventually call yourself the expert.
Yeah,
this wasn't handed to me. I mean, at the end of the day, I work my ass off.
Yeah.
And for anybody to take that away from you, shame on them.
Yeah.
But in time, you'll show them.
Yeah.
That's same with me. I'm writing my story still. Okay. Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you for being transparent and showing the folks out there what real people you are and the ability to, turn what we may all think is a movie into real life.
Yeah.
Truly. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Of course.
For the folks out there listening, if you got something from this, I want to make sure that I continue to tell you to share this shit. Like it, subscribe. You never know when a conversation like this is going to hit home for somebody. You never know that the insight that is added in each of these journeys could help you in some way or another. And we don't provide this to try and get over on folks. We do this so that our entire industry can kind of level up at the same time and hearing it from experts. So I've got nothing else. And with that being said, guys, we will catch you next week on the next one.
Peace.